The world of women's basketball has seen its share of rivalries, legends, and rising stars. But rarely, so rarely, does a player come along who seems destined not just to dominate the game, but to redefine it entirely. Caitlin Clark, the name that filled arenas, broke records, and turned casual fans into believers, was supposed to be the future face of the WNBA. And yet, in a move that has left the sports world gasping for air, Clark has announced that she is cutting her sophomore season short. Injuries, hard fouling, the relentless physicality of the league. All of it has pushed her away from the WNBA spotlight and toward a future few could have predicted: Europe. This is the story of a decision that may reshape women's basketball forever. Before we understand her stunning exit, we must go back to the beginning. Caitlin Clark wasn't just another top recruit. At the University of Iowa, she was electric, a walking highlight reel who could pull up from the logo, thread impossible passes, and carry her team on her back. The crowds grew larger with each game. The television ratings soared. Clark wasn't just playing basketball, she was putting on a show. By the time she declared for the WNBA, there was no debate. She was a generational talent, a player who could instantly change the fortunes of a franchise. Her rookie season only reinforced that. Even against the best defenders in the world, Clark's confidence and range seemed limitless. She was on her way to becoming not just an all-star, but the face of the league itself. But as Clark rose, so too did the resistance. Opponents targeted her relentlessly. Hard screens, elbows in the paint, whistles swallowed by referees who seemed unwilling, or perhaps unable, to protect the league's brightest young star. Night after night, she was battered. Fans took notice. Analysts debated endlessly whether the league was doing enough to guard its future. But for Clark, the fouling wasn't just a storyline, it was pain. It was ice packs after every game. It was the growing fear that her career could be shortened before it had truly begun. And then came the moment every fan dreaded: injury. A play that should have been routine ended with Clark on the floor, clutching her leg. The diagnosis was clear. She would miss the rest of her sophomore season. For most players, that might have been the end of the story. A long rehab, a return the following year. But Caitlin Clark is not most players. Behind the scenes, sources say Clark was weighing something much larger. Not just her health, not just her season, but the very path of her career. The WNBA was supposed to be the ultimate destination, the Dream League. But what good is a dream if it leaves you bruised, broken, and sidelined? And so, Clark began to consider an option that had once seemed unthinkable, leaving the WNBA altogether and taking her talents overseas. When the news finally broke, it didn't just ripple through the sports world, it detonated like a bombshell. Caitlin Clark, leaving the WNBA, heading to Europe. The headlines captured the shock: Clark walks away from WNBA. Future of the league packs for Europe. Basketball's brightest star turns to the old world. Fans were stunned. Teammates were heartbroken. Analysts scrambled to make sense of it. Why would she leave now, at the very peak of her fame? The answer, of course, is layered. First, health. The constant fouling in the WNBA had taken its toll. In Europe, the playing style is different, more tactical, more strategic, less punishing on the body. For a player like Clark, who thrives on finesse, the European game might not just be safer, it might be a better fit. Second, money. For years, the dirty secret of women's basketball has been that top players can make far more overseas than in the WNBA. France, Spain, Turkey, these leagues pay salaries that dwarf what most American franchises can offer. Add in endorsements and international sponsorships, and the financial incentive becomes impossible to ignore. Third, growth. Clark has always sought challenges. Europe offers a new stage, new styles, new rivalries. To test herself against the best the world has to offer, not just America, may have been too enticing to pass up. And finally, legacy. Clark's move is more than personal. It sends a message. Women's basketball is no longer bound to one league, one country, one path. By going to Europe, Clark is globalizing the game. She is forcing the world to look beyond the WNBA, to recognize that the sport is bigger than any one system. The reaction overseas was immediate. Tickets surged, teams scrambled to prepare, broadcasters announced new coverage deals. For the European leagues, Clark's arrival is nothing short of transformative. She brings not only her game but her spotlight. Fans who once watched only WNBA broadcasts will now tune into EuroLeague games. Young players across Europe will dream not just of the WNBA, but of their own leagues becoming global powerhouses. Clark's presence raises the stakes, the intensity, the profile of European basketball. And with her comes the possibility that more American stars may follow. But if Europe gains, the WNBA loses. Clark wasn't just another player, she was the player. The one who filled arenas, drove merchandise sales, and sparked debates on sports shows across the country. Without her, the league faces a gaping hole in star power. For years, the WNBA has battled perceptions that it is underfunded, underwatched, and underappreciated. Losing Clark doesn't just hurt in the short term, it raises existential questions about the league's ability to keep its brightest stars. What does it say when the face of your league would rather play abroad? What does it mean for the next generation of players deciding where to take their talents? Beyond the basketball court, Clark's decision also reflects a deeper longing. Europe offers more than contracts and competition. It offers culture, a different pace of life. The chance to walk the streets of Barcelona, sip coffee in Paris, learn the rhythms of Istanbul. For an athlete who has spent years in the spotlight, often confined by the relentless grind of American sports, Europe may represent freedom, a chance to grow not just as a player, but as a person. So, what does the future hold for Caitlin Clark? In the short term, she will rehab her injury, then debut on European soil to a frenzy of attention. Her games will be broadcast worldwide. Every performance will be dissected, every stat compared to her WNBA days. If she thrives, and there is every reason to believe she will, Clark could redefine the very structure of women's basketball. She could prove that the WNBA is not the only path to greatness, that Europe can be more than a stopover, that the global stage is just as powerful as the American one. And when, or if, she returns to the WNBA, she may do so not just as a star, but as an international icon. Caitlin Clark's story is far from over. In fact, it may be just beginning. By cutting short her sophomore season, by walking away from the league that seemed destined to be hers, she has done more than shock the sports world. She has challenged it. She has forced fans, players, and executives alike to ask hard questions about player safety, about salaries, about the future of the women's game. And in doing so, she has reminded us of something crucial: that greatness is not bound by geography, by tradition, or by expectation. Caitlin Clark is more than a player. She is a movement, and whether in the arenas of the WNBA or under the bright lights of Europe, she will continue to change the game in ways we are only beginning to understand. Because legends don't just play the game, they reshape it. And Caitlin Clark is well on her way to doing exactly that.